Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Like, Click, Share podcast. I think we're on episode 12. I should have checked before we opened this podcast, but I think it might be episode 12. I hope you had a fantastic Christmas New Year. Gemma's just thinking, is it episode 12?
Is it episode 12? I'm just trying to think.
So you'll be able to tell us.
Might be 13.
You might be 13. 12 or 13, unlucky for some, anyway, if it's 13. But yeah, welcome to 2022, and I hope so far 2022 is treating you great. Still no Emma, but she's not emigrating. Emma will be listening to this. She's not emigrating, but she's moving to Germany, isn't she? To kind of speak with her husband, I think,
she
for short term.
It's episode 13, Darren.
It is episode 13. Yeah. There you go. Welcome to episode 13. But hopefully Emma might be joining us a little bit later on in the year, and when things settle down for her. So if you're missing Emma, so hopefully she won't be too long before she's back. But we're here today to talk about digital marketing trends for 2022. And before I start, if you're watching this on YouTube, I've got like a cut on my face, and I just want to say that it looks a bit embarrassing because I haven't been in a fight, honestly. It looks like I will get it. I was on Zoom yesterday with real clients, and I looked how bad it was, and it's like, blimey, that's all they can see is this cut. So it really was done with a shaver, or I haven't been in a dirty brawl on the street.
Nothing to do with me.
Absolutely nothing to do with Gemma.
Me,
like
no.
Fighting over the microphone. But well, very quickly, how was your Christmas, Gem? Did you have a good time?
Yeah, it was great. Much better than last year, obviously, because you got to spend it with your family and friends. Sadly, my two little nephews have come down with COVID, one on Sunday and one this morning. So one of them is quite poorly, but I think it's bound to happen to all of us, I think, at the minute. And to be honest, I know you don't really want to get it, but I'd rather just get it over with. Do you know what I mean? I think I've had, the doctor thinks I've had it before, but I think you can catch it twice. I know people who have had it twice. And I think it's, I don't know, I feel like I've fully vaccinated and boosted. So I know you don't want to say that you want it, but I would just rather get it over with. Do you know what I mean? It's just...
Yeah. Well, hopefully this year is going to be the last year. Hopefully, they say it comes in waves of 3. So this being kind of the third year. Hopefully, this is the last bit.
One.
But on to the topic, top 5 digital marketing tools for 2022. The big secret is there are more than 5, so you actually get more out of this podcast. But we thought, well, we're marketers, we'll just say 5. Yeah. So you can feel free to skip through some of these. So it's not a particularly long podcast today, but I think it serves as a really good motivational list, and maybe for you to have a listen to and think, am I doing this? Am I doing that? Or, maybe I should look into this and look into that. So this is where this kind of like comes from. Gem, we talked just before we came on air, and you had some really great ones there. So do you want to kick off with your list?
Yeah, I'm not ranking these in any particular order. These are just 5 that I think people are going to find useful this year, based on obviously the Trends podcast that we did a few weeks ago. Was it just before Christmas? I think so.
It was, yeah.
So based on the digital trends that we were looking at and what was coming, I also have got some links that we'll drop in the show notes after, which are some tools to help your business grow in 2022, small business startup tools, things like that. I've got about 4 or 5 links, but like I said, these are in no particular order. So I still think Canva is going to be pretty big for people because they are adding more and more features. Obviously, the videos and what you can do now, even just with the free version, is much better than what you could do. I think we covered this. I think we've talked about Canva quite a lot recently.
Yeah, we have
on the podcast. So I still think that's going to be big. I think some kind of AI blog writing technology or software. Yeah. Something like AI Writer, which I know we've been using, and is great and really helpful, because sometimes you can spend like 3 or 4 hours trying to pull a blog post together, trying to cite sources and find links that go alongside it, and they are really, really useful. I wouldn't advise
I've just used it this morning actually, just to put like a story together. I really have, and when your brain just goes a little bit oh gosh, I need a couple of coffees, sit there before I write this. And
Yeah.
I thought, actually, I'll go and use that tool. And it just gives you that, even if you just don't use everything, it just gives you a starting point that you can build from, and then you can just adjust it and insert your own stuff and just stylize it around it. So I think it's a really great thing to use. I know a few purists out there won't like it, but I think I think there is a statistic. I don't know what the statistic is, but there is a statistic which is quite high. The amount of actual content around there is actually copied.
Yes.
So in terms of the actual number of original sources, it's not quite that. It's not really that high. A lot of it is kind of like repeated content. So we're not really doing anything different here. But apart from the fact that it just gives you this quick starting point, and I think it expands the story a lot more to include all these new like sources and make it a lot more informative and that.
Yeah,
So yeah, definitely check out A Writer.
Yeah, definitely. I think it provides you as well with links to sometimes really good pieces and articles that have been written that you might not have necessarily come across if you'd have just been doing the research yourself. So it's certainly given me access to different kinds of sites that I might not have looked at before, because I do think you do, when you're looking for sources, you go with ones that you go with ones that people know as well, ones that you've always got value from, ones that are really, really recognised. And sometimes some of the smaller ones that might not necessarily show up on the first like 1 or 2 pages of Google have got some really good information and really good help and support. So that's definitely something. Marketing automation and email marketing, I think, will be big, because I think businesses need more time to be able to do other things. And I think especially like with COVID and stuff and people taking on more and more responsibility, we talked about in our Trends podcast the other week about how customers want more of an instant response. So whether or not that's through like a chat bot or an instant message or like an auto responder that's been set up for your email. And I think that's only going to go on and on. So that, I think, is going to be key.
I agree with you. I was talking about this to somebody yesterday, and we were just saying that the fact that you can just order stuff and you can now, you can receive it within the hour.
Yeah.
Like in some cities you can order from Amazon or even like other online stores. They can receive it so quickly, and then I think that's fueling this. I suppose craving for like instant replies to problems and stuff. And there's a really good, because this was on my list as well. So things like Zoho, Zendesk, Intercom, Chatra, variety of different chatbot and customer service help desk software as well. And I think I'm going to kind of shoehorn that into your thing, that because it was on my list, that as well as the chatbot, it also does provide a good level of service. And I think you also need to look after your customers this year, because there's so much more competition out there. People will start to look around if you're not looking after your customers and that. And then just having, just some helpful software there could maybe kind of just take the pressure off your teams, or can answer just a lot of the common questions, or even kind of filter into your sales or lead generation process. It's just going to be really invaluable. You just can't be everywhere all of the time, and that's the reason why this software helps you.
Yeah, definitely. The other one that I've got on my list is Google Analytics, or some kind of data analytics. I think we talked about on the last podcast as well about trends and people being able to move quickly and change and adapt the content that they're putting out there, because I think we talked about the days of like doing a whole year plan and having all your content pieces mapped out, and that even down to sometimes 3 months now is too long. So looking at how your content is performing, how your ads are performing, the data behind the scenes to see what's working, what's converting, how your landing page, things like that. I think that's going to be key for businesses as well, with again all the competition that's out there. And the last one is video content, and I think TikTok and Instagram Reels and the lives are going to be key in 2022. I actually came across a stat when I was writing a blog post the other day for us, that TikTok has now surpassed Google as the most popular web domain. And that was cited in Forbes. I think it was the end of December 2021, which I was really surprised at.
Yeah.
But I think it just shows, I think everywhere you look, and I think in a lot of the trends, I think in the podcast that we talked about trends, I think we talked about TikTok. We've shared a lot of content on our social media channels about TikTok strategy. You see a lot of people online, and I mean, it's just something in these short form videos, whether or not they're on TikTok or Instagram Reels, get so much more engagement than just ordinary posts. And I think you'll see that. I think Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn have talked about like video being posted natively on there and how engaging it is for a number of years. But those videos have been, I guess, more longer form. These are like shorter, quicker, snappier videos that people can just scroll up and down. So they're mine. What about yours?
Yeah, and I just going that goes back to what we were saying about this kind of this fuels this demand for quick, bite-sized like entertainment, and bite-sized reply. Just everything kind of wanted. The people want replies like quite quickly, so there's no wonder that's kind of growing so fast. You mentioned marketing automation. Just some quick examples. Obviously, MailChimp. There's a lot of TV ads around at the moment about what you can do, but also Active Campaign, Drip. Everybody kind of like knows about HubSpot, possibly less so SharpSpring, but they're all kind of like different in terms of what they offer. But email is definitely, I still think it's here to stay. I think people are doing it to death a little bit, and I think some of the replies are getting a bit impatient, trying to get people to reply. I don't think that's a good way to go, but I think you definitely still have to be quite persistent, and you can do that on email quite conversationally. Talked about chatbots and customer service already. I think still it's not going to go away. Subscriptions and courses, there was quite an explosion of that last year, and now pretty much anything you can buy is a subscription. So I think that's great because it provides kind of consistent, steady income, but also maybe makes things more affordable for consumers, so it breaks down the payments. And we've seen that a lot in buying things online, things like Klarna, ClearPay coming through. So that's really great. So we can see more of that, I think, in 2022. Blogging you mentioned, I think that's definitely not going to go away, and I think that kind of links into SEO as well. Pretty much that people are still looking on Google for solutions to their problems. So this is the first time I've said this, but I actually feel like blogging and SEO is now this year, I think, is more important than social media. Because I think most people tend to do socials well on one platform, which I think is kind of, as long as you can just do it well on one platform, that's fine. And if that's where your customer base is, then brilliant. Don't worry too much about the others, but just pick one and do it well. If you're not doing a great job on socials, or you could be doing better, then you still need to be looking at socials to improve. But otherwise, I think people are definitely using Google even more. So blogging and SEO is actually really vital, because you need to be creating links back to your website about what your product is and how it can help, what problems it's solving, and just being there and part of your community as well. And if you're not there doing that, then you might be struggling to get like new sales and new leads. I think, as I said, socials I think are not quite as important this year. I'm not going to see, I think, a lot of massive changes either in 2022. Podcasts as well as another one. There's so many new ones started. It'd be interesting to see how many kind of keep consistent this year, because it is hard work keeping it going. People think it's easy, but actually start running out of ideas pretty quickly. Time gets in the way. Lots of different reasons why not to do a podcast. But it is quite difficult to build the audience. But definitely keep an eye on things like VR and Meta. And I'm going to throw AI skills in there as well, because I think it's really important now this year is to keep building your own sort of CPD, continuous professional development. So kind of keeping in with what's happening in digital marketing, what's happening in terms of like IT and your own tech sector as well. So AI is going to be huge. You might not know about what AI is, or you might think, well, I'm never going to be coding, so that doesn't affect me. But it does. You need to understand it, because it's going to be, it's here. It's been used in everything. VR, say Meta is the VR's already here, but kind of not massively commercially available at the moment. But I think we're going to see that change in the next 2 years when Apple and Facebook bring out their solutions. And I think digital marketing, this is going to be part of the next generation of technology that we've been waiting for a long time. And that's where there's going to be opportunities for digital marketers to promote business and to promote brands and do advertising. So that's why it's really important you get to understand what it is and how it can be used, how it's being used right now, and potentially what the future is going to be looking like in a few years' time. So definitely more than 5 digital marketing tools there and trends for this year. But hopefully you found that really useful.
I was just going to ask you, Darren, when you're talking about like VR and stuff, have you had a go, just out of curiosity, because my 2 nephews got that Oculus headset, VR game, like system thing for Christmas. And my dad loves it. Honestly, it was like the last few times I've been over, it's been really difficult to get him to take the headset off and let somebody else have a go, because he just, I'm to the point where I'm thinking, should we get him one for his birthday? You know, it's just, I mean, I haven't had a go. I'm a bit reluctant to have a go because I've got epilepsy, and sometimes certain games like trigger things for me. So, but I mean, the way that they were talking about it and stuff, and I have seen some of the videos, because you can watch what they can see. You can either bounce it onto the TV or you can see it on the app on your phone. But my dad was playing, he was playing golf the other day. We couldn't get him off that. There's a dancing one where you've got to move in time to the music and stuff. I can't remember what else there was, but I just wondered, had you had a go of anything like that, or had you used any like VR headsets, and what were your thoughts? Because I've only seen like little videos online.
I bought the PlayStation VR headset a few years ago. I think it must be about 5 years old now, but I think I bought mine maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, and I love it. I've not used the Oculus, so I can't kind of compare it to the two, but I imagine the quality of the visuals is a little bit better than PlayStation, but actually the playability of the PlayStation is really great. I know we haven't got a lot of time, but I know that when I'm playing those video games, when you feel like leaning over a cliff and you're looking down, you actually do feel a little bit of vertigo when you're kind of looking down, because you've got this whole...
we had hold of my dad a couple of times because it was
it's weird, isn't it?
Fall over,
It's absolutely amazing. And I think prior to that, Sony themselves, when we talk about the metaverse, they did, I think it was called Home, which was this whole kind of immersive thing about kind of where you are, you choose your character and you go in, you start talking to people. And I think it was kind of very early prototype about what's about going to be coming back round, but in a much bigger way. So I think I got into that when I was a little bit younger. There must be about 10, 15 years ago now. When the PlayStation 4 first came out, so it was like a kind of community thing. And I know there are things like that out there already. But yeah, I think we're going to see definitely like more of it. I mean, we saw Facebook, didn't we? I don't know if you've seen Facebook brought out the Ray-Ban glasses, sunglasses, and then so then obviously you can take the pictures and that on the go. Those look like pretty cool. So I think we're going to see loads of little things like that kind of like appearing over the next year and that. So it's going to be really exciting.
I'm just not sure how I feel about those glasses and like taking pictures and stuff while you're walking around, and do you know what I mean? I'm just a bit like, I don't know.
There are some, I agree. I know where you're going with that. There are, I suppose that's where the platform hopefully has got a lot of machine learning and kind of things built into it that it could perhaps stop a lot of unwanted or unnecessary images being put up online. But it does create...
I mean, you look at the Ray-Bans, and the Ray-Bans are really discreet, and you'd probably walk past somebody and not know. But when they've got like the VR headset on, you can see. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I know when I did that Google Squared Online digital marketing course, God, it'll be 6 or 7 years ago now. I think it was 2014, and they were showing off the Google Glass, and that kind of is something that was similar, but again, I don't think really took off. And then I know people were talking about like Snapchat glasses, and then they didn't seem to take off or anything, didn't they? So I'm curious to see how this is all gonna like work and develop, and which way it's gonna go. Because why? I'm wondering in my head, why will these Ray-Bans and the Facebook one? Will it be different? Because obviously, but then Facebook bigger than Google? I don't know.
I've got a friend, and we're doing some research together about the metaverse. So,
right.
And so we're doing that next week. So I think after we've done a bit of research, I might invite him on to a show and we can
because I'd like
talk
to know
about
more
it in a bit
about
more
it.
detail. Yeah. I think he was saying there's a few different metaverses out there already,
right,
that I hadn't heard of before, but I haven't done a huge amount of research. But yeah, so let's make that a plan. This is an open discussion on the podcast, but let's make it a plan. Let's make it happen. Let's do like a whole podcast about like, the metaverse and what actually really is it that we're talking about. But I think online community is probably like a virtual community is a better way of, that's how I understand it to be anyway. So it's almost bringing Zoom to life. And I'd be surprised if Zoom doesn't really get in on the action, although I've not heard anything from them. So, but it'd be interesting. It'd be good if somebody like that is doing it. Anyway, we need to close up, otherwise we're going to keep talking about everything else, and we need to finish up. But I hope you really enjoyed this podcast. Please let us know anything you'd like to kind of hear us talk about on a future podcast. If you would like to appear as a guest on the podcast, we are open to suggestions. So if you'd like to come in and talk about a topic, as long as it's digital marketing or IT related, come and just talk to us. Just drop us an email. We'll put the link to email us in the show notes. It's darren@ducodigital.com, but you might not be able to pick that up audibly, so just have a look in your app and you'll see the show notes there, and just drop us an email. But hopefully listen out for episode 14 coming up very, very soon. But until then, look after yourself and take care. Bye for now.